This is TWiT.
All right, so on to headlines.
I didn't even need Scotty's help to fix my Star Trek.
The first two are from space.com. We got a Soyuz rocket aborting during an ISS launch, which is a very unusual thing. We've seen it twice before.
Well, we've had a few aborts like this, but we've had two in-flight aborts.
This was a pad abort, right?
Yeah, and this was a pad abort where they aborted before liftoff itself. But still rare. The Soyuz is the workhorse rocket for Russia and Roscosmos. It had an American, Tracy Caldwell Dyson, on it, and Russian Oleg Novitsky, one of the, I guess he's going to have the most flying time ever, cumulative, of anyone in space, according to NASA after the end of this mission. And then a newcomer, and I want to make sure I pronounce her name right, Marina Vasilevskaya, and she is a spaceflight participant from Belarus, flying on a 12-day mission for this. The other two are going up there for 6 months, and they were all in their rocket, waiting for liftoff, and they got down to about the 20-second mark on this one. This is, of course, at Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan, and something happened. What they think happened is that it triggered an automatic abort, which means the rocket didn't take off. And what Russian engineers think happened is that they have a power issue in the booster itself. NASA said today in a press conference that it was a low voltage detection in a power system on the booster. And they don't know if it's a quick fix or not, because they're still targeting like another launch try tomorrow as we're recording this. But whether or not they actually try for that or they need more time to fix it, we'll have to wait and see. But a real busy time for the space station for this to be happening. They need these flights to go kind of regularly because they've got a lot of visiting vehicles flying. SpaceX has, of course, their Crew 7 astronauts that have to return home from the space station after this crew gets there. And then after that, there's another crewed flight in May that we're going to talk about in a little bit, with Boeing's first Starliner mission. And SpaceX right now has a cargo ship that's going to dock tomorrow as we're recording this episode, that just launched on the same day as this abort. Like 7 hours later, they launched a SpaceX cargo ship from Florida to get there too. So we're just trying to wait and see like what happened. But thankfully, Tracy Caldwell Dyson, Oleg Novitsky, Marina Vasilevskaya, they were safe the whole time. Like nothing happened while they were up there with a fully fueled but aborted rocket, and they were able to disembark after they defueled it, and kind of go about their day and prepare for flight. So we're waiting right now. I expect, as we're recording this, it's a Friday. I expect some kind of an update at like 6 p.m. to come out of the NASA machine to say, no, we're not, or yes. So, or Mike knows what's more than we do. So
yeah, they actually already gave an update. They're clear to actually launch tomorrow morning, Saturday morning,
wow,
23rd at like 8:36 a.m. So like whatever that problem was, they got it fixed pretty fast, and now
so Vladimir got down there with his sledgehammer and whacked on a few things. So
they plugged in the extension cord.
So this rocket, just before we move on, since we've got Mike here who knows everything that we don't, which is quite a lot actually. This rocket's been, there've been incremental improvements, but basically the design dates back to, I think, first flown in 1965, right?
Yeah, it's
rocket and the crew capsule.
Yeah, both of them. They've been flying in the same basic configuration for like many decades now.
Forever.
So, yeah.
So what about, as I recall, there was going to be a replacement called Angara, I think. Did that get mothballed?
No, it's still in development. We shall see. There are occasional updates about it, and
slower than SLS, if that's possible.
Yeah, it is. It's still we're still waiting to hear when that might get up and running. But yeah,
there was a test launch of the Angara rocket. Was there not some kind of prototype? No, maybe not. I have a half memory of it. I could be wrong about
maybe they're growing it like a stalagmite or something.
I should point out that we did some research, and there was the in-flight abort with Nick Hague and a cosmonaut in 2018 in October, right, or 2018, I believe. And then there was another in-flight abort in the earlier days of the Soyuz program. There was a pad abort, according to Robert Perlman at CollectSpace, in 2018 of a Progress vehicle on a Soyuz rocket. No crew on that one.
Right.
But those were the ones that we could find in recent memory. So
pretty darn reliable.
Yeah, pretty rare to see this thing happen at the last second like this. So
very reliable for something running on vacuum tubes. All right. Also from space.com, as I said, one must chuckle before reading. Boeing says Starliner is ready for its big crew test. Woohoo!
That's
What's
right.
A Starliner? Uncle Tarek, tell me.
Well,
do they fly in space? No.
As we have discussed a few times in the past, Boeing is building, well, back in 2014, so this is 10 years ago now. 10 years ago, NASA picked Boeing and SpaceX as its commercial crew providers, the companies that were going to build private spaceships and launch astronauts to Mars for, I guess a fraction of what it would cost for NASA to build and its own fleet of spacecraft. Boeing got $4.2 billion under that contract. It was that's like the max amount they're supposed to get. Right. And the initial flights, and SpaceX got $2.6 billion. Since then, SpaceX has launched like 11 times for NASA and Boeing for astronauts, and Boeing has not been able to get its astronauts up in space. In fact, 2 years ago, 2022 was when they launched their second uncrewed test flight to make up for the first one in 2019 that didn't make it to the space station. Now that second one did work all right, but in 2023 they found out that it had like hundreds of feet or actually more than a mile at least of flammable tape inside, and then also it had parachute problems where they weren't rated to handle an off nominal parachute load, which required a redesign. And so now, after all that work's done, they say that they're finally ready to go. They have said no earlier than May 1st. So they actually said a day. That was today, actually, as we're recording, that they're going to target that day, launch on an Atlas V from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. The Atlas V is undergoing integration right now. They've fueled the Starliner for launch. That's a big step right there, because once they fuel the actual capsule.
Excuse me, when you say fueled, you talk about maneuvering.
Yeah, all of the stuff that it's going to need to use once it's in space. Not the rocket. This is just the space capsule, but
this is a test of the valves, which have been a challenge. So
that's right. Well, and they will be fixing those valves for Starliner 1, not for this mission, but I believe for Starliner 1 they're going to have those fixed. If memory serves, it could be the second one. But they're building Starliner 1 now, which is the operational flight. They hope to get, if this mission goes well, and of course this has Sonny Williams and Butch Wilmore on board, who have been training for this flight for a very long time. In fact, this flight's been so delayed that International Space Station astronaut Jeanette Epps, who was originally supposed to fly on this one, on a Starliner operational flight, flew on a SpaceX mission and is already on the station now. So,
the other guy, what was his name? Sorry, it's
Mike Fink. Mike Fink was on this test flight.
No, but there's another one that had been with them for easily over a decade, who said, "Look, I got to retire before this thing flies."
That was the former astronaut Chris. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, I'm really.
We're both having senior moments at the same time.
Who actually was the lead Boeing astronaut for developing this one, and he didn't end up retiring. Yeah, I know, you put so much work into the mission, and there you go. But I mean, it seems like everything is set. The Steve Stitch at NASA said today that they are really confident that they've ironed out all of the issues. Mark Nappy, Starliner program manager, said that they feel like they have addressed all of the issues that they know about. Big test on this one. The first crew on board, you want the ECLS systems, the life support systems, to go correctly. They're going to try some manual flight modes. They're going to do docking. They're going to do undocking, cargo moving back and forth. Lots of big stuff for this flight. So it'd be very interesting to see it, and we hope it goes off without a hitch, because they're on the hook to fly at least 6 of these, six, and that's the NASA contract. Whether or not they opt to extend Starliner's life for commercial crew like SpaceX has for Dragon, flying private missions and tourist flights, we don't know. We don't know at this point. It doesn't seem like they have any plans yet beyond NASA's needs for this point.
Apparently, it's hard to build space capsules.
Yeah, very
even if you've worked on rockets since 1950X. All snarkiness aside, I mean, we wish them lots of luck. It's just been so frustrating to watch them get this almost double the award of SpaceX and then fumble the ball so many times. But There you go. Okay. Last one from Space News. Chandra on ice. Love that.
Yeah. Well, this is just a quick update. The NASA budget did come out, or at least their budget request recently. I think last week, if memory serves. And there was not. I mean, there's a lot of hemming and hawing and hand-wringing by NASA Chief Bill Nelson and others because there were some painful cuts in this one. And one of the biggest is a plan to basically start winding down the Chandra X-ray space telescope. And this is a space telescope that's been kind of the X-ray version of Hubble for a good long time since its launch. And basically it's going down to from a current budget. So it received about 68.3 million in 2023. It's going to get cut by 40%. Down to 41 million in this request for 2025, and then more cuts in 2026, and then eventually it will just be like 5 million a year in 2029, and that's basically like let's shut it down mode. At that point in time, analyzing data, making sure that it's safe and whatnot. A lot of and the rationale for this is because they're saying that there's been like a reduction in Chandra's capabilities over time to the point that it makes it, not worth the investment that, say, upgrading Hubble, which was built to be upgraded with new instruments over time and keeping that alive, warrants. So scientists are really upset about this because it means that they're going to have to plan to wind it down, which they can't take on new science with it. The science that they're doing now has a shelf life or an end date, if you will, where they have to stop that so they can start the winding down process. And a lot of folks think that there's just a lot more science that they could do. And we've seen evidence of this in the past when the Spitzer Space Telescope ran out of coolant to keep it cold to the standards that NASA needed for infrared astronomy. They did kind of turn it over to Caltech, right? Your old kind of stomping ground. And they ran it for a while doing other science that they could wring out of that space telescope for a while.
Well, and then look at Kepler.
Exactly.
That thing was a wreck, and they said, oh, wait a minute, we can re-aim it, I think, using solar wind pressure, right?
They did.
And
all
have the
sorts of
K2
stuff.
mission, which went on for years and years.
And or NEOWISE too, after it ran out of coolant to keep itself cold for the WISE asteroid one. They found all sorts of near-Earth asteroids and whatnot too. We'll see. This is a budget request. And we've seen, you and I have seen, Rod, these types of proposed cuts over time. And then they ended up not going through. There were plans to cut Spirit and Opportunity while they were still alive on Mars, so that they could save up some money for other things, and they chose not to do that.
Forget New Horizons.
That's right. And New Horizons.
Why would you want to bother to keep talking to a spacecraft that was out beyond the edge of the solar system? That was really weird.
That's right.
All right.
So we'll see how it all goes. But basically, we're just keep Chandra in your thoughts, everybody. And let's see where this budget request actually lands.
Hey, if you enjoyed this clip, be sure to check out This Week in Space. You can find us on your favorite podcast app or see the link in the description below. See you there.